Hi guys, it's Raythe here. I know you were all really looking forward to episode 139 of Dragon's Reign, and we were so excited to share the whole thing with you. But unfortunately, YouTube's not going to let us do that. At least not all of chapter 139. In the dead of night, Kat got a notice about my reading of Ghost Neo Tokyo chapter 1. YouTube took the video down, didn't just demonetize it, literally took it down because it contains sex. That's right. Me reading that sex scene was just too much. Well, it does contain sex. There is no arguing that. And so does chapter 139 of Dragon's Reign and a few other chapters, which we'll have to deal with. So we're having to massively edit chapter 139 and remove the lovemaking scene from the public podcast. It will not be there. To be clear, we don't have a problem with content guidelines or age restrictions. We have an age restrictions for the membership after all, but we do have an issue with how platforms selectively enforce these guidelines, especially with fictional content, let alone gay content. Because remember, guys, in the eyes of most companies, gay equals porn. Doesn't matter if it's chase kisses, it's porn if it's gay. Remember that. So Raythe Reign stories are in a gray area. So we've decided that going forward, we're not going to post any sex scenes to the public, and we just cannot risk losing our YouTube channel, our Spotify podcast, any of it. I know that's going to disappoint a lot of you, but it's not that these scenes aren't going to actually be done, as I'll explain further. We believe that while disappointing, this is the best course of action, because if we get too many content strikes in a certain period, we won't be able to upload anything at all. And no one would get to experience these stories on YouTube or Spotify or iHeartRadio or wherever else you are now listening to this. And as many of you know, YouTube in particular is notorious for being impossible to fight back against, even when there is no cause for a video takedown. And in this case, legitimately, they can say this violates their contents regarding their deal with, sex, not having anything about sex in the platform. The good news is that unlike most people, I don't rely on YouTube, Spotify, or any other third-party platform in the end. I started Raythe Reign as my own platform for this very reason, where I'm free to write the stories that are in my imagination. And by that, I mean simply gay romance. There are a few exceptions, but in general, my stories aren't full of wild, kinky stuff. It's pretty vanilla, but that is way too hot for all these other platforms, or so it seems. Even with this complete freedom, I've never written erotica. I am always doing the romance thing. It has always been gay romantic action and adventure stories for me. I just don't have to worry about whether or not my love scenes will be acceptable to corporations like YouTube, Amazon, or others. I only have to worry about entertaining myself and you guys and being true to the stories that are in my head. Again, what does this mean? It means that the lovemaking scene that is the culmination of chapter 139 and the culmination of Valerius and Caden being together is not available for you to listen to on the public podcast. The absolute only place you can listen to it will be if you're a Raythe Reign member and on the podcast there. This also means that the romantic scenes in the next podcast, they will be produced. Believe me, they've already been produced, but they won't be public either. So how we're going to do this is that to get the full versions of chapter 139 and anything going forward, and we're going to also have to probably remove some chapters in Dragon's Reign that have sex in them, you have to sign up as a Raythe Reign member. Members get their own private podcast feed with all of the chapters intact, because remember, I'm completely in control of this. So while you're hearing this, members are hearing the real 139. No, that's not happiness, but this is what we have to deal with when we're dealing with a platform like YouTube. So for the new podcast, we're going to edit out the love scenes and publish abridged episodes, which we will identify So you can get the whole story, just like we did here with chapter 139. And of course, the full chapters will be available for members on raythe.com. Those of you familiar with my work already know this is only really a few chapters. Most of the chapters remain completely intact, like 95% of them. But any of the sex chapters, they just have to go. They just can't be on here. We can't risk these strikes. Also, for the upcoming podcast, we got organized. We are publishing chapters bundles as downloadable audiobooks with no breaks, intros, or outros. These will also have the complete chapters in them, and they'll be sold through our own shop, not Amazon, not Wix or Squarespace, but something that we alone control. So that's another way that you can get the complete story without sanitization. And the whole podcast will be available to stream completely uncut for members of Raythe, as I've said. Now, I recognize that a lot of you don't have money to sign up, and I understand that. But we have to play by the rules. So we're going to do our best to give you as much of the story as we can. But in the end, it really comes down to the fact that we don't control YouTube. We don't control Spotify. We only control raythe.com. I am very disappointed about this, but I'm not really surprised. I am a little surprised because I thought all they do is demonetize those chapters with sex in them, but I guess it can't even be on there. I mean, the video for Ghost in Tokyo is gone. And I'm really, really happy and relieved, as I always am, that I started my own platform, raythe.com, in 2010. It's thanks to that and the robust support of the membership that stories like Dragon's Reign are possible at all. Because I want you to imagine this. If Raythe did not exist, there is no way I would have ever put this up on YouTube. To sign up for my site, we're doing this thing where basically you can sign up for $1, so that you can finish, hear the final scene with Valerius and Caden, their lovemaking before their wedding. And also you can, stream the whole of Dragon's Reign, including the sex chapters that we will have to be removing from that. You just need to check the link in the description. And we're going to be doing this for the rest of June. Anyone can sign up for $1. New members and old members alike who have been following. As always, though, you can't have an existing membership and use the dollar coupon, because that's just it. Our software will basically create another account for you and charge you twice. This is not how I wanted to end Dragon's Reign. I really was so looking forward to sharing that final lovemaking scene with you. I think it's very important for the story. I think it's lovely. I don't think it's porn. I don't think it should violate any rules, but it does. And we have to live with that. So for those of you who can, I hope that you can spend the $1 and listen to it on raythe.com. And for those of you who can't, I tried to make sure that we cut only what we had to cut. And so you'll get the flavor of it and know what happened. Like I said, this is disappointing on all counts. But it is something that we run across again and again and again and again, especially for gay romance. And it is why, supporting Raythe and other authors who do this stuff outside of these platforms, as hard as that may be sometimes, is really important, because you are making sure the content that you enjoy and that you love is actually produced. And it's the only way to do that is actually support those authors and artists directly. All right. So leave your questions in the comments section below. We'll try to answer all of them. We'll also remember we're going to see you in the next week for the premiere of Dragon's Reign chapter 140, which I hope you can join me for. And I just am really glad that I can share as much as I can of this with you. And I truly hope you enjoy the ending of Dragon's Reign. Thanks.